own thing. You do your own thing. You know that it's true. You are what you do.
Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to Pyragraph live from the Albuquerque Press Club. We're happy to be here. I'm Peri, Pakroo, your host, and I'm the publisher and editor of Pyragraph, which is an online creative career magazine. We feature daily first-person posts from working creatives, writers, musicians, all kinds of creative folks sharing their experiences, stories, and lessons learned. Check us out at pyragraph.com. You can call into the show, and we would love for you to call. Look, I got my phone right here. 562-MIMOSA-5. That's 562-646-6725. We would love a call, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
Let me welcome my co-host, Clarke Condé.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Clarke is Pyragraph's creative director.
It's very nice to be here in the Albuquerque Press Club.
We love the Albuquerque Press Club.
Here on the flight deck.
Yeah. Notice our new logo reflects the log cabin aesthetic that the Albuquerque Press Club really exhibits. It's just fine form.
Absolutely.
We need to do a tour one of these times.
I think
we really need to take the camera around.
I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen.
It stretches us technology-wise.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes. But, we keep advancing, and that's, one of the things that Pyragraph's known for is, really stretching the limits technologically.
We do. I want to talk about that a little bit tonight. Tonight, in a little bit, we're going to have a guest who I'm really excited about, writer Mike Smith. I've been trying to get him to write for Pyragraph, actually, for a really long time.
Right.
And he's busy, and everybody's busy, but I know eventually we're going to get him. But we got him on the show.
That's
Mike
right.
is a writer, an essayist, a podcaster, a Twitter feed creator, writes about music. He does all kinds of cool stuff with writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many different forms,
right.
Which is fun. So we're going to talk to Mike in about 10 minutes.
It's going to be good.
But yeah, technology-wise, we're doing all kinds of stuff at Pyragraph, which is exciting.
It's one of the words to use, yeah.
It's exciting when we're thinking about the end result.
Sure.
It's less exciting when we're working on getting it done and figuring out all the different pieces of the puzzle of plugins and stuff that are going to fit together. But it's going to happen. It's going well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be busting out some new kind of resource packages.
Yes.
For the spring 2016. And I talked to a consultant about it. This is new for me. I'm a consultant. So for me to consult another consultant was kind of exciting because she's really awesome. Her name is Pamela Slim.
Right.
She is an author of a couple books, and the first one was Escape from Cubicle Nation, and I loved that book. And I'm a business writer as well, so I always refer to her. Believe me, I am kind of a tough critic.
I've seen her work.
There's a lot of lame business books, and so I get excited when I find ones that I really like, and they're smart, and they're cool.
Yeah.
And so anyway, years later, here I am. I got in touch with her. I said, would you take me as a client? She said yes, and so we had our first coaching session yesterday.
Right.
It was great, and she is really smart at she's smart at understanding online communities and how to engage them and how to build them, how to monetize them.
Right.
And a lot of the things that Pyragraph is doing, we're a magazine, but we're very community oriented.
Yeah.
And resource oriented. She's also a teacher, and we try to do some teaching. And educational resources. So
we're just here to help. Really, that's
help.
more than anything else.
We're
really
artists.
trying to help artists and creatives try to deal with their career and where they're trying to go in their lives.
And as a coach, Pam helps small businesses. It's a definitely overlapping.
Good
audience.
to have her.
So it was
in the
cool.
mix.
It was exciting. I was
kind
of nervous.
No, that's great.
She gave great advice. So anybody watching, I really thumbs up to Pam Slim if you
shout out to Pam Slim.
Yeah, other business consultants that are doing cool stuff. So we had a good session, and we were talking. She and I talked about the types of things about technology and things that we're working through. And I think soon we're going to bust out a survey for our readers.
Yeah, that's the new thing.
Because we've roughed it out to a pretty detailed degree, and now we want feedback.
We're talking about 2016 and some of the things that are coming down for Pyragraph, and we're looking for some ideas from the readers and seeing what they're interested in, and about to launch a whole bunch of new things, including, and the milestone that we talked about today.
Yes.
The 1,000th post in Pyragraph, which I think is pretty big. That's coming up, and there'll be some interesting stuff with that.
1,000 posts.
pretty good.
Which we'll be 3 years old in February.
Right.
So we're not quite 3. And I think it's going to fall like almost right at the beginning of the year. We were kind of trying to time it out today when that 1,000th post is going to hit. It's exciting, huh?
I think it is.
Yeah.
And so we'll have some things related to that, and then we'll have the survey coming out.
And that'll probably be next week, unless Thanksgiving gets in our way and we do it the week after. But we're going to do it really soon because we're really at that tail end now of implementing, and it's going to be launched in January, which is cool.
Yep.
So yeah, we really want a porous border between readers and editors. We really do, because our audience is us. Really, in many ways, and all of our writers are people in artistic communities,
right?
And so we really want to hear feedback, and please contact us.
One of the things that people may not know about the show, and what we do, not only in the show, but how it connects with what we do in the magazine, which is online at Pyragraph.com. Is that. And I'm coming up with a segue here. We did a piece on the monkey selfie.
We did.
And
that was a copyright case that a lawyer wrote about.
But we also have here a tech monkey.
Oh, we do. We have our tech monkey. We should get our tech monkey over here.
Exactly.
Come on, Jeremy Kinter,
who is our engineer for the show, and
right. Turtle has mostly handed the baton over to Jeremy. Welcome.
Right. Hey guys. How's it going?
We're good.
First of all, I'd like to clarify that I am not a monkey. I am more along the chimp, ape class.
Mm-hmm. A great question, clarification question, perhaps for little Bobby.
Right.
Who is an animal handler. He might be able to...
Well, he would know, definitely.
He is an animal handler. Mm-hmm. Dear little Bobby, our new advice columnist. He has so many different skills.
Yeah, I'm actually... let's say, like, seeing what Mike does and whatnot, I'm kind of jealous because he operates in writing much more than I do, which is a question that I asked little Bobby about, is being a master of none and jack of all trades,
Writing is something that you've dug in, though, a little deeper than other
things. I have, but filmmaking is one of my big ones, and that's something I want to stick with, but finding, between that, Humbird and Pyragraph and
other simian activities, sure, whatever you got going on.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly,
right.
yeah.
That's great.
Like going on dates with family members of Clarke's.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah. And so...
I'm sure my 14-year-old will be surprised about that.
Damn it, Clarke, I hate you. So, no, it's interesting. It's been quite a creative... journey, and I've become versed in things I never thought I would be versed in, which is useful to an extent. But
can I give a shout out to your new employer?
Yeah, of course.
Tractor Brewing Company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they have been a supporter and a sponsor of ours, and now you're on their payroll.
I am
doing cool stuff for them,
and I love it. And I love the Tractor family. I love the beer farm. I love Carlos and. Just everyone there is super awesome. It's been really welcoming, and
Can I give a shout out for an event tomorrow?
Yeah,
the
of course.
art fight.
Yeah, the art fight's
I'm doing
going.
a job for you, Jeremy.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, James.
A friend
James
of mine's
Black
involved
is,
in the art fight. So.
And they're all the proceeds are going to go to Off Center.
Yes, Off Center,
which is a really cool, basically like free community art house.
Art making space.
Art making space.
Yeah.
That Eva Avenue introduced me to.
It's funny. It always reminds me of Eva because I've been there other than Eva, but we would meet there. Sometimes AJ Woods would be there playing piano.
Oh my God.
Eva would be making stuff, and I've had all kinds of fun afternoons at Off Center with Eva.
Yeah.
For sure.
So tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun. The theme is
what time does it start?
architecture, homes, and design, and it's going to start at 7 p.m. at Tractor Wells Park.
Architecture and design. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's right. It's called the house party.
Yeah, it's a house party. So
cool.
That's the theme.
Benefit Off Center Arts, Art Fight, Tractor Wells Park.
Yeah, and then we have
Friday night.
This really cool artist hanging out right now named Moises, and he actually does. Well, he he does these really cool portraits of luchadors, and they're
cool.
amazing. He was actually an ex-luchador himself from
Get
Phoenix.
out.
Yeah, he's like really tied in heavily with the wrestling and luchador scene.
Sweet.
But he's an awesome artist.
Let me say one thing about the event, which I thought was particularly great, especially for working artists, is that the art fight is an event in which you win the fight, you leave with money. You actually leave with cash money out of this thing. So I mean, it's for working artists,
and people vote. Everybody votes.
People vote.
So
their
I think
favorite
it's
pieces,
10 artists.
But drunks vote, right? That's basically what it is, right?
Yeah.
Because each time they buy a beer or something, they get a ticket. Is that pretty much? It was something like that, or I heard there was some sort of scenario. I don't know. I'd have to talk to someone who worked at Tractor.
I don't know how they do the whole voting process.
I think it's just people vote.
Yeah,
from what I read about
my
it.
understanding was there was you got per votes or something, and there was somewhere.
I don't know,
well,
but no matter what, it's going to be competitive and exciting.
Much
like the Holly Holm fight.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
We had to drop that one.
We had to, New Mexico.
I thought of that actually today when I was sharing the thing on Pyragraph. I was, it was like the art fight language. I was right, and I don't know. New Mexico, Albuquerque is fighting on the brain right now.
Yeah.
It's just
it's so big.
Yeah,
this is
really
like the biggest thing to ever happen in Albuquerque. Basically.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming to report.
Yeah. And let's bring on our guests.
Yeah. And a great editorial meeting today too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It's always fun. We always work remotely. We're we don't really have a common workspace all the time. So it was great. It's nice to sit down and
absolutely
and
Thanks
edit
for having
together.
Me on, guys.
Yeah.
So speaking of editing and writing and such, let's welcome Mike Smith to the podcast. Welcome, Mike.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks so much for coming.
Hi.
It's always nice. It's always nice to see you. I see you around school, so I see you because you got to get close to the mic.
Okay,
I hate to
Hello,
give you any
microphone.
trouble. Yeah, just what. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
And then point it right there. You go.
Okay.
So, yeah. There we go.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Likewise, Peri. Yeah, we have kids at the same school.
We have kids at the same school,
Yeah.
and then we see each other at music events.
Mm-hmm.
What have been some of your favorite shows? Because you're a music lover too. I've been missing stuff. I feel like I'm.
Oh.
You know how you feel when you just miss stuff, and I'm gonna get back into it. But
that happens for sure. I just went to this experimental music festival at Keller Hall called Wolf Tones. It was incredible.
Really?
Manny Rettinger helped put it on, and there were a
I
lot of
heard
great
about
performers
it.
there. Raven Chacon.
I've heard about it.
Who else? Tons. And Marisa DeMarco just blew everybody away with something that
She always
did.
does.
Oh,
She's
it was just
amazing.
amazing. She had an electronic glove that she could scrape over the tape from old cassettes while a fan was blowing the tape from the tapes up into the air around her. It was just amazing. There was this visual and musical symphony together. It was great.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so I know you from music circles, and I also know you from writing circles. So you're not a musician yourself, but you're a
No.
music lover.
I do, yeah. I
But
love
the
music,
writing is something you do. And
Yeah,
not only do you you're like an educated writer.
Oh, thanks.
Right?
Thanks, yeah.
You have you do literary stuff.
Yeah,
I find that interesting.
I have a master's in creative writing, and I'm an obsessive reader, and live in an apartment that's just lined with books, and that I have to move this week. Oh man,
That's right. You're moving. Congrats, a new house.
Yeah, so it's like 4,000 books
man.
to pack in 6 days. I'm a little scared.
I can imagine.
And these are some of your favorites that you've
No,
chosen?
these are what the press club has.
Right,
Press
to
Club
prop up the
collection's
mic.
pretty great, I got to say.
There's
But
probably a couple that are okay.
yeah.
I'm sure. I'm
Saw
sure.
This movie. That was good.
What do you think? I come from a writing background that's not, educated based. I didn't go to college for it,
That's the right way.
and a lot of the writers I know also didn't, and they write for magazines and they look for freelance gigs and stuff like that. And
Right.
that's how they define success. You, on the other hand, submit a lot to literary journals. You have just
true.
kind of a different world. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I think it's interesting and it's very different from my experience.
Okay. Well, so I'm writing this book. It's a memoir, but it's a very experimental, entire life memoir. It's an autobiography, really. And every chapter it has a completely different form that's dictated by the stuff that I'm writing about. So one chapter might be a place name's guide to a house, but it's actually kind of about a failing marriage. Another chapter might be liner notes to an album, but it's actually about a brother who's coming to deal with certain mental issues that he's got. Another chapter might be a book of scripture, but it's actually about growing up in a cult and
Right.
what I consider
Nice.
a cult. And and so on. And so it's going to be kind of like an eclectic literary mixtape. Definitely, like, got to tip my hat to Ulysses. Like, he did something similar, but more subtly.
Studly?
More subtly.
Subtly.
Subtly, yeah. And more subtly.
I've always thought that about Ulysses, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Ulysses.
Yeah. So I've been doing that, but I've been making every chapter so that they're also standalone essays and can be published by themselves. And so I've gotten, I think, 8 chapters either published or accepted and are about to be published of the book. And it just helps me to like get a little bit of external validation and a little bit of feedback as I go along, because you know how the writing process is. You think it's great when it's 3 a.m. and you're finishing a piece, but who knows? You gotta who knows if it's going to connect with people? You have to put it out there and get that feedback and so on. For that same reason, I've been opening for rock bands and for singers and stuff like that, just like reading essays as an opening act. And it's been so great. It's been like the best responses I've ever gotten for my work.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
It's been really nice.
Well, I saw, I see on Facebook, the things, some of the journals, can you give us some names?
I was in Tin House.
Tin
that was my
House.
biggest publication. That's
and
one of the
through
top 5.
I've learned a lot about this world.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really quite realize, and some of these you've pursued for a while, right?
Yeah, I always submit to like more reasonable places. Like I'll probably get in here, and then also to impossible ones like Tin House that like occasionally pan out. The Tin House one got me into Best American Essays 2015.
That's right. I was going to congratulate you on that. That's
nice
exciting.
Work.
Just this year.
Yeah, and that one got me an agent from New York, which is like who's now shopping around my book, The Rights Factory. I just feel great about that. And
you have to write about that for Pyragraph. I'm sorry. I'm going to hound
just the
you.
process, just the process of getting the agent and the whole thing.
Thank you in advance for not hating me for hounding you.
No, I'm happy to. That'd be great.
But while we're talking about process, I'm interested, and I think probably the viewers are in how, with all the submissions that you put forth, what's the process? What do you do? Do you do a daily thing? Do you do a weekly thing? You have goals? How do you do this? I
keep a Word doc on my laptop where I check in every day and I say 11:59 to 4 a.m. or whatever. I write at night generally, and it helps me keep track. I write down my goals for what I'm working on. I describe it what I'm doing in text and so on. And so I just keep track of it, and I try to work every day. Like I try to never skip a day. It does happen because real life is annoying, and it gets in the way of things. But I try to just keep track of it. I write every day, and I just submit constantly. Anytime I have access to Wi-Fi, I'm submitting to literary journals and magazines and sending my stuff out there. And it's a horribly slow, frustrating process. I find lists online of like, here are all the journals that the Pushcart Prize nominees came from, or here are all the journals that Best American Essays have drawn from, and so on. And then I submit exclusively almost to those. Sometimes if I find lesser known journals that seem to be appropriate, they deal in experimental work and experimental forms, I'll submit to them as well. But it's just, I'm the wrong person to go to for someone that's figured something out. I'm like actively in the process of figuring it out, like really trying to make it work.
But having success is at least it says that some things that you're doing the right way,
right?
Or at least they're effective.
Thank you, and I think the process, and I think we all know this intrinsically, is ultimately comes down to luck. You keep working. I love that Thomas Jefferson quote, despite him owning slaves, where he says, I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. I think that's it. You just have to be constantly working. You have to be constantly putting out. No one's going to write your book.
Right.
No one's going to do that for you, unfortunately.
Right.
So you have to do that work yourself, but you have to just keep putting yourself out there. And by doing that, by casting a wide net and just like aggressively putting your work into the world, you invite all sorts of wonderful things to happen. People will read your work and connect with it, and you'll find those connections. Things will happen.
So what percentage? Maybe it's not a percentage thing, but there's doing the work, and then there's selling the work. There's promoting the work.
Right.
How does your time break down? You say you work in the evening,
right?
Presumably you've got other things going on, and so you work in the evening, and kids and everything.
Yeah.
So how do you divide your time consciously, or is it like I'll do this and then I'll do this, or I get sick of this and I'll do that?
Most of my focus is definitely on just the writing itself. Like I find the process so rewarding that it's just not a problem to me. It's like I love writing. Like I enjoy it. Like I read these descriptions about like. There's memes that go around the internet like writing is like just like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire and you're in hell. And I'm just like, I don't relate to this at all. I'm not even gonna like this.
You love it.
Like this is it, it can be frustrating. It's hard to like plumb the depths of your own existence and like visit your past mistakes and try to make them pretty in prose.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you also are comfortable with solitude, and I know this from reading some of your stories and knowing about times in your past where you have lived almost either completely alone or with a partner, like out in the middle of nowhere for a long period of time, right? And you've done massive walking treks too,
Yeah,
right?
I did in 2001. I mean, a lot of the stuff is like from a previous life,
Yeah,
but in 2001 I walked across the country with a group for a charity hike, and that's provided a lot of fodder for the book. I circumnavigated the coastline of Lake Powell in a canoe in 1999 and 2000. And I've lived alone in the desert, just writing and writing. But, you know, all this was before a marriage that didn't work out and before children. Yeah. But it was, you know, like, absolutely. I think solitude's amazing, and I love the desert, and I feel like both those things are like wells I draw from for sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was so rude. I didn't mean to do that.
We're in a bar. It's fine.
Well, she was right there. So, but I loved reading those stories, and it could, you know, it seems like obviously you're suited for this kind of work.
Oh, thanks.
And it comes naturally, and but you also are fun and gregarious, and you get out, and I love that you have the connection with music too.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I love music. Music is the ultimate muse. Some I forget the critic's name because he's kind of been forgotten too, but there was a 1940s or 50s critic who said all art ultimately aspires to the condition of music, and I just feel like that's the truest thing, and it goes back to the Beats with Kerouac trying to write in a jazzy way, and probably before that, but it's just, you know, music's amazing. In a way, it's better than writing. It gets at things that are more like. In writing, we're constantly like trying to reach the ineffable. We're trying to like capture something that can't be captured really, and ultimately it's Hamlet's words. It's never going to be the essence of it. Music, I think, it really gets to the essence of it. Sometimes,
it captures it in that fleeting moment.
Right.
It's so present. I think that's what I love about it too.
Right. It's like, this isn't about what you think about this. This is about this.
Yeah.
You know.
I see it as a value-added thing. Like, for instance, if you look at history and then you look at art history and you go, well, this is history with pictures.
Right.
It's a value-added thing. Music is frequently words with music. You combine the thing and you have more. It's a value-added product.
It's really true. Yeah, that's really great. I'm not sure.
Tell me about the publications you have upcoming next. I know you. Is it more installments from the book?
It is.
Awesome. And I've seen you read that. You're a really fun reader to go to live where you do readings, and it's far from boring. I think people sometimes think that readings are boring. I don't know. And yours are definitely not.
Well, thanks. I think in general readings get a bad rap. I think more people should go to them. But I have had the most fun opening for bands lately, like where I read at rock shows, or my friend Jasmine Crosby asked me to open for her when she did an album release for her band Glitter Vomit, and I was like, that's weird, but okay, I'll do it. And it was the best reading I've ever had in my life. It was the crowd was totally tapped into it.
I love it.
They were maybe like in a slightly altered state of mind because they were at a rock show,
right?
And it was fantastic. This was not like a coffee shop where everyone was just like sipping their drinks over the grinding of the whatever in the background.
Right.
And it was so fun, and so I've been doing that ever since. I've got a show coming up at the Gold House on December 12th.
That's right.
Look up Gold House on Facebook, and they'll give you updates on their events. But I'm going to be opening for some really great bands.
Who's playing?
I forget. Oh, thanks for putting me on the spot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some really good bands.
I
remember reading their names and being impressed.
No, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And your partner, is it okay
Mara
to
Woody,
say?
Mara,
she was on the
You
show,
interviewed her
and
recently.
so and
I like that episode.
Who's great?
Yeah.
Who's absolutely
She's
great?
wonderful.
I love her. You know I do. I just am inspired by her musically.
Yeah,
and,
my love, for sure.
And we're eventually going to hook up, and she's going to help me learn my microchord.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes, she's the one to ask for that.
She is.
Yeah.
She's the wizard.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit also about your podcast.
Okay, so
I was listening to it a little bit today, and it's great, and it's somewhat new.
It is. It's
right?
brand new. We've literally only done. I think there's 2 released episodes.
There you go.
Yeah. One of my great friends in the world.
The name is
Ty Bannerman.
City on the Edge.
And the podcast we're doing together is City on the Edge. It's a profile of one city. We hope it'll appeal to people beyond Albuquerque, but it's definitely a profile of Albuquerque as told through history and folklore and topical stories. Every episode we feature a person, place, or thing that is relevant to the city and that has something to do with the history. But the topic of each episode connects to the topic of the next episode. For instance, in the first episode, we I don't know where to look. Should I look at this camera or this camera?
You can look
Either
at
one.
it.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. Okay. So, for instance, in the first episode,
Good question,
we
by the
wrote
way.
about this woman, Cliffy, who her ghost supposedly haunts this building that we're in right now. We wrote about this. Our writing group meets here. We love this place. The press club is great. We wrote about her, but she had allegedly dated this writer, Carl Taylor. So in the second episode, we wrote about Carl Taylor and his infamous 1936 murder. And his cabin that he was murdered in was taken over by a hoarder. So in the third episode, we talk about hoarders and preppers, and then
Prepper Expo.
Ty went to the Prepper Expo and wrote about it.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, and then that ultimately talks about other people that have tried these experiments of like living independently off the grid and so on. And so we end up talking about the Placitas hippie communes for the fourth episode, and so on, and it just keeps going.
Great idea.
Yeah, it's really.
I love the
it's really
concept.
fun. I think. Yeah.
And so what the name of it is
City on
the
the Edge. Look it up on Facebook.
It's an iTunes thing too.
Yeah, it's on iTunes. It's on
Right.
Podbay. It's on a few other
SoundCloud.
places. Yeah, it's on SoundCloud. We're still getting it going,
Sure.
so it's probably not going to be everywhere people look for it yet. But just ask us, and we'll get it set up.
If it's on iTunes.
Yeah.
on
And I'll
iTunes,
share it
yeah.
on Pyragraph.
Thank you,
On
thank
our
you.
Facebook page
Yep.
and stuff like that.
It's fun, and Ty and I are old friends going back to like the early 2000s.
Did you guys work on a book together or no?
No, but we were graduate students
Yeah.
in the creative nonfiction program.
And you guys did
you,
that
Adam.
story about exploring the Anasazi.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that story.
I got arrested with Ty while
Yeah.
we were trespassing in a building. And
That was exciting.
Nice
That
work.
building that finally did get finished, but it was like
Yeah.
nobody knew.
No, yeah.
It was this hulk of I
Yeah.
don't know what call it, 10-story building
Right.
in downtown.
The Anasazi building,
The
6th and
money
Central.
ran out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it sat vacant.
There was
and
some
the guy
fraud
was being,
involved, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if he ended up going to jail or not, but he definitely was prosecuted for fraud. How that ended, I don't recall. And they finally, but there were. It stood there empty, falling
Right.
apart for what, 5 years?
And we thought,
It
let's
was
climb
it was
inside,
a long
let's
time.
walk around. We
Yeah.
didn't expect a SWAT team to descend on us and
Wow,
you
SWAT
know,
team.
throw
That-
us to the ground.
That was exciting. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
apparently the same day that we explored it, the headline in the Journal was, Mayor declares he will crack down on Anasazi building trespassers or something.
Nice.
It was a really well-written piece, so it was
You
a
want
fun-
to check
it-
up on their
the
news
urban
before you do
adventure.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, so that was a nice legal hassle that we were only saved from by our wonderful friend, Carmela Staracci, or Stares, who defended us. She had a legal degree and
Awesome.
got all these charges dismissed. I mean, I'll
Wow.
owe her for my whole life.
So they
Absolutely.
were actually pursuing the charges.
man,
they
it
weren't
was
gonna.
such
They
a
weren't just
hassle.
going to arrest you and let you go and like.
We had to go to these classes. We had to go to like responsibility training classes and stuff, taught by a preacher whose last step was like, and you've got to like give your soul to Jesus. And we're like,
No.
and I'm like, separation of church and state. I'm yelling at this guy, and like he almost didn't sign off on my dumb thing that I had to get signed off at the end
I
because
didn't know stuff like that went on.
Did
Oh,
you
it's
did you
absurd.
learn any responsibility out of any of this? Or
no, not at all. I'm less responsible.
You're
now.
less responsible.
I am a little
because
more
of it.
fearful
It sounds like a
about-
policy problem. You're more fearful. Are you more interested in trespassing?
No, honestly, it did curb my trespassing a little
Okay,
bit.
so it did
I
do
was
that,
really
so-
into the urban exploring, but it also made me less happy. So I don't know
Sure.
if that's a win for
Sure. So
the
you're
human
now surly
condition.
and not
Right.
exploring.
Yeah, no, I still trespass all the
Okay,
time. But
great.
but
That's good to hear. At least.
You're a good explorer, both urban and rural. I see all kinds
Urban
of
and
photos.
rural.
You go to fun places in the mountains, and you're a good explorer
Well,
that way.
thanks.
You've written about New Mexico mountains, right?
Yeah, I wrote a book called Towns of the Sandia Mountains
There
that
you go.
was about the Sandia towns. But my real stomping ground, and I love the Sandias. I grew up in Cedar Crest.
Yeah.
My real stomping ground is the ghost towns north of the Sandias on La Madera Road.
Sure.
And my son is named Hagen Coyote Smith after Hagen
Because
and
of that,
Coyote.
I did not know that.
Yeah, two of the ghost towns out there.
We should go out sometime because I
I
live
love
for
that
this
area.
stuff.
We should do
I
a
live
remote.
for the Rio Puerco.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
I love that
Cabazon,
area.
and that's
Oh,
like that's my
hidden mountain.
yeah, that's like
Las
my
Lunas,
spot.
yeah.
But we should do something like that. That'd
Have
be
you been
fun.
to the Ten Commandments rock out there? So-
Not the Ten Commandments rock. No.
Okay, the
no.
Decalogue, the Las Lunas Decalogue. It's called. It supposedly has
No.
it has the Ten Commandments in Hebrew written on this boulder.
Can
out.
we make a plan
Oh,
to
let's
go
go.
We'll have to
this?
do a
Can we
remote.
take,
We'll do a
take-
remote.
Take
go.
Clarke, take some photos. I would seriously.
I'm sure it's a hoax. I don't believe that it's an old artifact.
You don't think it's
But
the
I wanna
hand
go
of
see
God
it.
writing
I think it's
these?
from Mormons in the early 1900s or pranksters from St. Joseph's College that used to be around
Pranksters.
here.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Awesome.
But it's still really neat. It's the Ten
I
Commandments.
love the
written on a rock in desert.
Rio Puerco
Mysteries.
Valley. There's the Guadalupe ghost town out there is cool, and then there's
Yeah.
some Anasazi ruins
yeah.
farther.
Yeah.
And if you look on the map, it's kind of like Albuquerque's backyard.
Right.
I mean, it's really
Right.
just this quick little
It's
thing,
true.
just Rio Rancho is
Yeah.
in between.
Oh, you got to see the La Madera ghost
I
towns
wanna
because
go
they're
out
even
there.
closer. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've many nights I've been at the press club here with friends and been like, let's go to the ghost towns, and then we
Wow.
piled in the cars and just headed out there. It's
It's a wonderful thing about the press club.
Oh,
It
and,
is.
And Albuquerque and Yeah.
So where will you be trespassing next?
I don't know. I'm really like living a pretty unexciting life for the most part right now. Just really focusing on this book. I'm haunted by that Philip Roth quote about no optional striving. I used to write for the Alibi a lot, and I haven't been doing that a lot because I just want to see this book exist in the world.
Sure.
And so. Yeah, all that other stuff, it ends up being fun, and I try to like keep cool stuff in my life. Recently, I went up to Shiprock for a music festival and just hitchhiked back on a lark.
That looked like a fun,
it was
crazy
really,
festival.
It was that festival's amazing. The indie electronic punk fest.
Yes.
Oh, it's so I love the descriptive name. I love. It's the second time I've gone to that. It's incredible. Anytime you get a chance to go to this, go. Yeah,
I'll go next time because I heard about it kind of right before it happened, and there was no way I could have done it. But that's something I would love to drive up to do.
And it shows like what the scene is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene is just what people make it.
Yeah.
I want to see this exist, so I'm going to make it exist.
Right.
And then they go out. And,
Right.
And they book the bands, and it happens, and it's just all of a sudden people have something to rally around, and life's all right.
It's really, really cool. So are you still writing, or are you just selling now?
I write
You're
all
writing.
the time.
I mean, for this book, is the book done?
Oh no!
I didn't think so, but you must be getting close because I know I've seen many chapters.
Yeah, I've gotten
published.
8 chapters of it published so far. I've got
8
2
have
coming
published.
out soon.
There you go.
I've got 14 really polished chapters written, but honestly, I've got at least that many to finish still. I have another year
I
or two
hate asking that question because it sounds like, when are you going to be done with your book?
No.
But I just
These
know,
things take
having
time, though.
seen you doing readings and stuff, I know that you're at least probably 10 some chapters in.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I love that you have an agent. I really am going to bug you about writing because
I
a lot
need
of people ask me because I have books. They're like, how do I get an agent? I'm like, I've got legal how-to books. You don't need an agent for legal how. It's such this little niche-y thing. And then I just kick them over to, I have a few friends like you that are like creative writers and I don't know that world well.
Especially creative nonfiction.
Right.
That's the
specific,
thing. Yeah, that's very.
It is, yeah.
And I think there are people out there, certainly readers and.
But my understanding is that you do kind of need an agent for that kind of stuff because you need to break through.
Yeah,
it's hard to break through.
It's just nice to know someone's on your side and that they're like talking about you when you're asleep.
Right.
Like that. Right. That's great. It's great to know that someone's out there in the world doing that for you. Like I haven't seen any like I haven't gotten a contract out of having an agent yet or anything like that. But I haven't seen those kind of results. But it's still it's very reassuring to me just to know that like, oh, good, I'm not the only person trying to get people to pay attention to my work. Like,
well, and also I think, I don't know how many writers do this where they have the individual chapters published.
Right.
I think it's just kind of cool to have that feedback along the way rather than just this solitary feedback until you're done with it and trying to sell the whole thing.
It's true, yeah.
It's kind of cool.
And for me, it's born out of like insecurity and like a desire to just like know what people think of what I'm working on. Like I really like I don't want to be precious about this because like I want people to like my work. I want them to read it. Like if people want to read my stuff now and don't like it, I want to know why. I want to like get that feedback. And so I love it. To me it's I write because we're all ultimately alone in the human experience. Nobody really knows what it's like to be anybody else. And writing to me has been the one way that I've been able to describe my own experience and reach out to other people and connect in that way. You know, like everybody has a family member that struggles. Everybody's dealt with dark thoughts. Everybody's had like, just the experience of being human, and it's not always pretty. And to me, like, I wrote about a sister who committed suicide, and I have just had like the best conversations with people, like the first time I've met them as a result of that.
It was a really well written.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And like to me that's really valuable. Like to be able to go to a party and all of a sudden we're talking about like the saddest things that's ever happened to either of us. That's my kind of party. That's fun.
So you're reading on December 12th at Gold House.
I am, yeah.
And where else can people find like your writing if they want to find your writing online? Find you on Facebook,
you could.
Twitter.
I have essays at the Unoya Review, the Baltimore Review, the Florida Review, Booth. Well, most of these are online. Tin House. Did I say the Unoya Review? They're there.
Yeah.
And I've got a piece coming out in Wildness, which is a new literary journal focusing on nature writing, and a piece coming out in the New Delta Review. That one is a joke book about growing up with epilepsy.
Wow.
And so it's like 80-some jokes about just like having seizures all the time as a little kid.
Wow.
It ironically highlights like that seizures aren't funny when you're a little kid.
Yeah. Sure.
And I think it's a fun piece.
I want to read it.
Yeah, the one coming out in Wildness is about working this awful office job that I had last year, where I had this job that was just like slowly like draining my life essence. But I had this view of 64 miles away of the Jemez Mountains out the window across the hall. And so every day I would write down several things that I saw out this window, just because like I'm a writer and I'm always collecting.
Right.
And so I wrote this essay that is literally 90% descriptions of what I saw out the window and 10% like depressing biographical details that creep through. It's literally formed as a visual window. It's divided into 6, just like the panes of the window across the hall.
Yep.
And
sounds like On the Road.
It's
that sounds great.
Yeah, but I love this piece, and that's coming out in Wildness. And,
Wildness, cool.
Yeah, so it's I love nonfiction. That's my realm for sure.
Well, please come back.
I want to.
Write for Pyragraph. I'm going to be bugging you.
Okay.
And thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
I knew.
Absolutely.
I'm just excited. We wrote
Oh,
you
are
in.
you kidding me? Your podcast is fantastic.
That's
Your
great.
vidcast
Thank
is
you.
great.
And we should do like a podcast collaboration.
Oh, I would love
Wouldn't
that.
that be fun? We should
Yes.
totally do
A
that.
remote
somewhere.
somewhere out
Yeah,
somewhere.
let's do it.
We should
do
do
that.
that.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that'd
Yes.
be great.
I
So-
would love to. I would love that. Yeah.
Thanks so much to Mike Smith.
Thank you,
Clarke
Peri.
Condé,
Thank
Jeremy
you, Clarke.
Kinter, Turtle as
Thank you,
always
Jeremy.
for the background support. Thanks to our sponsors, the Cachette Ideas and Innovation Center
Absolutely.
and Music Go Around Albuquerque.
Awesome.
Thanks always to the Pyragraph team extraordinaire, Sage Harrington, Josh Stuyvesant, Jeremy Kinter, Clarke Condé, and contributing editor at large, Eva Avenue. We're going to take next week off, unless, well, I'm not even going to say, no, we're going to take next week off. We're going to take next week off because it's Thanksgiving next Thursday. And the week after that, come on back for more tales from the creative front line. Thanks, blessing.
You know who you are. 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 You know that it's true. There's no one like you. You know that it's true. There's nobody like you.